If all you have is a stupid job and you have a 401k, you've been screwed left and right. So the gap between the rich and poor is wider than ever before. What is happening is that there's macroeconomics and there's microeconomics and there's mini economics. And I would say 98% of the people are in mini economics. And so what Rich Dad World stands for is what I consider real financial education. And so I don't blame people for getting all excited and saying, I bought Bitcoin at a penny and now I'm a multi-millionaire. And we all dream of that. It's like saying, eat this food and you'll lose 50 pounds. Well, everybody wants a quick answer to life. And as Kim was saying, that's really not where Rich Dad stands. It's about constantly updating the real estate between your left ear and your right ear. And most people's gap between the left ear and the right ear is just a little pea brain sitting there. Just tell me what to do, tell me what to do. And so the people that are in most trouble today are my generation, the baby boom generation, because they have got no brains. They listen to people who are idiots, who told them to go to school, get a job, work hard, save money, get out of debt, pay your taxes, and invest in the long term for the stock market. And I think most of you know that's the baby boom generation has had the easiest of all generations in history. And they're about to get screwed. And that's why I wrote the book, Who Stole My Pension with Ted Sedell. So if I could explain something really quickly, the reason I talk about macro versus micro and mini, I do have some Bitcoin, and Kim and I do a couple of million of that, and we do have Ethereum. But my fortune isn't based upon that. And so most people get so excited about what's the price of Bitcoin, and they miss the big picture. So in the macro world, what happens is when there's a thing called quantitative easing or money printing, what that does cause, it causes inflation in the monetary system. In other words, real estate and stocks go up in price. But what it does, it screws the poor people. So if you don't have, if all you have is a stupid job and you have a 401k, you've been screwed left and right. So the gap between the rich and poor is wider than ever before. The frightening thing is this: if there is a thing which I've been studying lately, it's called GovCoin. If there is a FedCoin, we're all screwed. Because what happens with printing of money through the Fed, it causes asset price inflation, which is why Bitcoin's doing well. If the government gets upset and say, well, these guys are stepping on my cape here, and they produce FedCoin, the trouble with printing of money is we're going into a depression. So please hear that. We're going into a depression. And so when they have quantitative easing, they're trying to prevent a depression. And the trouble with printing money historically is when you print it, there was a short burst of inflation. And we're in such this period right now. Real estate prices are up, stock prices are up, and all that stuff. But it's only short-lived, and then it slides back down into depression. So they're trying to stop a depression. And it's called the transmission of money. So it's like having 4 gears to a car. I know everybody knows this stuff, but it's so obvious. When they print money, they're trying to prevent the depression. But we're going into a depression anyway, because it doesn't fix it. And the problem with that, when you print money, it only makes investors richer. But the working class guys, the guys who work in my yard, I feel for them. They're getting screwed left and right because they're working for money. That was Rich Dad's rule number 1, don't work for money, because money is corrupt. So they print money to try and prevent the depression. But the average guy can't even get a credit card, or they have a student loan debt. And that's because with no financial education in school, the only reason the economy expands is we have to have debt. And that started in 1971 when Nixon took the dollar off the gold standard. So here we are 50 years later, and it's not working. When I came out of school, I think the debt to GDP ratio was only like 20 to 1. 20%. Today it's 140%. We're bankrupt. If they go to FedCoin, then we go to what's called Gresham's law kicks in, and we go to hyperinflation. When we go to hyperinflation, that led to Adolf Hitler, the Weimar Republic, led to Mugabe in Zimbabwe, and what's his name, Fidel Castro, and what's happening in Venezuela today. If they go to FedCoin, we're all dead anyway. But it's going to make gold and silver and income-producing assets even more important. So I know most people know this, but if they keep printing money, the inflation is short-lived, but it's only in people who can get debt. So what I'm watching right now, so today the debt to GDP is about 140%. Every time they print more money, all that increases is the debt, but the economy gets worse. That's the trouble with what Bernanke started with quantitative easing. So we're at the crossroads, and the reason financial education is more important than before, you've really got to have a bigger picture on what money is. And so the real estate guys, what Kim and I love the real estate guys, is because it's debt. And the more debt we have, the more we borrow, the less tax we pay. So anyway, that's kind of the big picture of money. So the real estate guys are at one end. Kim and I don't have stocks because we don't need stocks. You know, we should have read Rich Dad, Poor Dad. It said, assets put money in your pocket. Kim and I are always creating our own assets. I don't need to buy stocks, bonds, mutual funds, ETFs. So that's why your financial education is more important, but I would suggest getting the macro, not the mini. So we're at a very crucial turning point in the world economy. And the question is, if they keep printing money, we have a short burst of inflation, but it makes it harder on those who are stupid enough to go to school and get a job and work for money. And for people who use real estate, using debt and paying no taxes and creating our own assets, like Rich Dad is an international brand, it's an asset. So as they keep printing money, all that happens is the debt to GDP ratio is now 140%. We're bankrupt. That's all it means. That's like means you make $1,000 a month, but your monthly payments are $1,400 a month. That's basically all it means. And it's going to get worse next year. So that's what happens when quantitative easing comes in. They shift to FedCoin. It's hyperinflation. So we're fighting a depression, which is why there's quantitative easing. But if they switch to FedCoin, it's hyperinflation. That's the Weimar Republic, which brought Hitler to power. I'm an entrepreneur. I can make my own assets. I don't need somebody else's assets. So Kim and I make our own assets. And we buy real estate because the banks will give us as much money for debt. And the more debt we have, more real estate we have, no taxes. But those are the differences, and that's real financial education. There's no free lunch out there. And the average person is so effing lazy, they just want to be told what to do. Oh, should I buy Bitcoin? Should I buy real estate? Should I start my own company? You know, should I go to school? Should I get a job? Should I become a doctor? But they miss the big picture. So that's basically my message. So Rich Dad has always been about the big picture.